Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to MX Business Breaks on MX24 channel with me, Godwin Nambo. Coming up in the next 10 minutes, Ghana Statistical Service reveals 14 million Ghanaians moved out of poverty bracket between 2011 and 2017. Also, Board Chairman of GIPC, AFCFTA, says board members of corporate institutions deserve more appreciation from the public for their work. Details of these and others are coming up shortly. Stay. Many thanks for staying with us in our first story. Let us start with some good news. And the Ghana Statistical Service has disclosed that about 14 million Ghanaians moved out of the poverty bracket between 2011 and 2017. According to the service, this represents a 9.4% reduction in the incidence of poverty in Ghana. In addition, the intensity of poverty between the 6-year period also reduced by 2.4%. According to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobineni, this data is contained in a recently launched multi-dimensional poverty index. The government statistician was speaking at a virtual event on the importance of the multi-dimensional poverty indices.
Of multidimensional poverty strands to the extent that it gives us an opportunity to compare it with consumption expenditure poverty. What we previously didn't know is the fact that a lot of the poverty that we were computing, that is consumption expenditure, which our last Ghana Living Standard survey put it at 23.38, of that 19.27 are multidimensionally poor. And what came to us as striking is the fact that the reverse was not the case, whereby you have a lot more multidimensional poor people who are not captured as consumption expenditure poverty. So of the 45.6% persons that are poor, we realized that 26.34 were not captured as consumption expenditure poverty. As was indicated in the introductory remark, what we intend to get here is to get a sense of how poverty indices have changed over time. So on the right-hand side of my slide, using the multiple indicator cluster survey that were conducted in 2011 and 2017, we're able to show how poverty had reduced over the period, and clearly incidence of poverty between the 6-year period, that is 2011 to 2017, had reduced by 9.4%, and intensity of poverty had reduced by 2.4%. If you take this into absolute numbers, over the period, we saw 14 million people moving out of poverty. So the resourcefulness of MPI is not just the trend analysis, but its ability to help us compare it with consumption expenditure poverty.
Moving on, Board Chairman of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, AFCFTA, has called on the public to recognize and appreciate board members of corporate institutions in the country. According to the former CEO of GIPC, he has observed that the efforts of many board members in the country go unnoticed despite their tremendous efforts to improve the corporate environment in Ghana. Speaking at the 3rd edition of the Corporate Hall of Fame Award Scheme, AFCFTA lauded the brains behind the award scheme instituted to recognize these distinguished corporate personalities. There is more in this report.
The 3rd edition of the Corporate Ghana Hall of Fame has been organized by the Business Executive, publishers of the Business Executive magazine. The Corporate Ghana Hall of Fame is an award scheme that seeks to recognize distinguished personalities in Ghana's corporate business landscape. This 3rd edition was graced by diplomas such as the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Her Excellency Jeanette Mason, and Melis Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Abdul Kader Toure. Some of Ghana's corporate personalities that were inducted into the Hall of Fame in the 3rd edition were the CEO of Angel Group of Companies, Dr. Kweku Otin, CEO of Ghana Commodity Exchange, Tushi Awovi, Dr. Abraham Ato Ahimfo, Chairman of Natua Group of Companies, Professor Harold S. Amono Kofi, Chairman of the Governing Council of the Cape Coast Technical University, Mr. Michael Opam, Chairman of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, and a host of others. Some inductees shared their expectations with MX24 ahead of the awards and the induction ceremony.
I haven't been to this program before, but then my checks would tell me that it's always a great programming, so I expect the best.
As he deserves, his hard work and his able leadership for ADK Consortium in the construction management industry. So we'll be very elated if he actually gets to be inducted tonight.
Given his opening remarks, Board Chairman of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Kwesi Abiesi, called for recognition for corporate personalities in Ghana's business landscape.
This is a group that was put together to sort of recognize those who have been at the helm of affairs of our companies, that is the chairman and chief executives who have distinguished themselves. And we thought that the board, which normally is held responsible when things go wrong, are not properly recognized when things are going well. And therefore, we thought of recognizing the board through the chairs, and that way encourage them to perform better.
The African High Commissioner to Ghana also disclosed some business opportunities for Ghanaians in South Africa.
There are immense business opportunities and investments in South Africa that are available, and I welcome everybody to come and explore these opportunities in South Africa.
Mali's ambassador to Ghana also shares some opportunities in Mali.
I will try my best, if you young businessmen, to try to build bridges between you and your counterparts in Mali.
For MX24 Business, Frederick Adai-Kwatin.
Frederick Adai-Kwatin with our reports. Moving on, the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, Samuel Francis Amegaibo, has lauded the Minister-designate for Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boachi's idea to establish a housing authority if approved by Parliament. According to the Executive Secretary of GREDA, the real estate industry has not come under any proper regulatory framework. Hence, such an establishment will be timely and relevant. He added that the establishment of the housing authority will also provide an appropriate platform for the numerous challenges in the industry to be addressed. Samuel Francis Amegaibo spoke to MX24 in an interview.
Hello. Okay. The minister, during his vetting, spoke about a lot of things, but the ones that I remember very well has to do with the establishment of a national housing authority. I think it is a good call, because in the past, the industry itself, as of today, is not well regulated. So when you have an authority in place, it will be able to sanitize the system, look at the issues we're having with land gas, quack developers, haphazard development, poor housing, all these things, the authority will be able to manage. Then we have issues like how to get access to cheaper funding, and then also land issues. All these things are issues that the authority will be able to help us, overcome.
And now, former Ghanaian investments banker in the United Kingdom, Kweku Adoboli, has revealed that the country can deal with a rising housing deficit if a mechanism existed where mortgage-originating institutions, particularly banks, were able to swap their liabilities with pension funds who have far more patient capital to deploy. The financial consultant argues that despite several factors hampering the growth of mortgages, the primary cause is structural, hence the need for swap financing to salvage the situation. Kweku Adoboli was speaking to the 2021 edition of a pension strategy conference organized by Access Pension Trust.
The default position is government paper. Ultimately, the security is very close to government risk. But that's how we've tried to structure it. And the idea then is that this allows for pension funds, etc., who want slightly higher risk appetite, but not to give it all to government paper, can diversify to the private sector in this way. I've kind of described this already, but this is kind of how it works. But just to discuss why this is such an important initiative, what we believe is such an important initiative. Delivering a mortgage bond marketplace allows us to focus on developing the entire, property ecosystem. So for us to develop mortgage insurance, we're creating this one solution, this one tool has not yet about price in every transaction. And to ultimately, the Ghanaian pension but it's prioritization, but more.
Our market lacks innovation. We know why we are not growing unless we can creatively break this barrier with an early support by the regulator.
Let's now take a look at how the Ghana cedi is performing on the forex market, as well as development on the commodities market. And that's how we end today's edition of MS Business Breaks. With me, Godwin Nambo. Enjoy the rest of our programs.